Today is the final day of the 5-day Tour of Beijing, now in its second year, and the final event also of the 2012 World Tour season. The red jersey being worn here since day 2 by the defending champion Tony Martin of Germany. The green points jersey, the second most important competition, being worn by Sky's Edvald Boysenhagen, who got the lead in this competition for the most consistent daily finisher yesterday. Riders signing in here include Eros Kopecky, who sits in the top 4 riders overall in this race. This man holds 4th place, Boysenhagen, as he signs in his colours as national champion of Norway. And the Saxo Bank team here as well. They are defending the best young rider in the competition, Rafa Machka. He's the Polish member of the Saxo Bank team. Ronaldo Mocentini also signing in there. Still riding in the top 6 overall in this race, a race which is covered by only a few seconds. Alessandro Patacchi, who was beaten yesterday by the newcomer in this race, the 21-year-old Marco Haller from Austria, who got the better of him in Changping, which is where we're starting from today. Not very far away from that finishing line yesterday. Changping to Pingagu is the course today. It's the longest stage of the race, 182 kilometres. And just covering up his polka dot jersey there, the leader in the King of the Mountains for Garmin Sharp, the Irishman Dan Martin. He'll be looking for the climbs today because this is quite a severe course for the riders, the hardest no doubt of the whole week, starting with a second category climb and finishing with the steepest climb of the race with the renowned dangerous descent down towards the finish. Tony Martin signs in number 1. He really didn't expect to be leading this race in the second year, but there he is, being presented to the crowd, 1 day away from his second year victory in this event. Total distance for the 5-day race, a shade over 750 kilometres. The first couple of days based right in the centre of the city of Beijing, the capital of China, and the last few days we've spent tickling the mountains which abound to the north of the city centre. Nice smile on the red jersey there of Tony Martin, who's turned his season around since August, having had 2 bad crashes this year. He's come back with some fine performances at the World Championships, where he struck gold in the time trial, and the Olympic time trial in London, where he got silver. Immediately the flag is in. The Rabobank team from the Netherlands has launched a 2-pronged attack. Plenty of riders willing to take up the chase here. Clinton Avery of New Zealand just chasing down those 2 riders. See if they can get an early move going. It's only 12 kilometres to the top of the first climb of the day. Tony Martin at the moment, his job to keep a watching brief on just who is launching the attacks. He's only got a handful of riders to keep an eye on here and conserve his lead to the end. Tony Martin leading this race by 40 seconds. And it's not a safe margin, not with the terrain on today's stage. This is Team Katusha's leader here, Mikhail Ignatiev. No, it's not, I beg your pardon. It is the winner yesterday, Marco Haller, just testing the water and getting into a move. Probably got the confidence now that you need winning a stage in a World Tour race when you're the 3rd youngest man in the race at 21 years of age. Just driving the pace through here is Kenny de Haas of the Lotto Belisol team. Quick to take up the running, Jan Bekelants, little breakaway getting clear from the field now. Steve Cummings. And all of these riders working, and looking at the names going past our camera here, there is nobody at the moment endangering the situation for Tony Martin. Highest placed man in this breakaway is Steve Cummings in the red at the front just now. He started the day 3 minutes and 15 seconds off the pace. But mind you, having said that, he's got the distance in front of him to regain that. Fabian Weckmann, nearest camera, he's on the same team as the rider on the far side in the polka dot jersey, Dan Martin. They were just having a chat across the bunch there. He's the champion of Germany. Pacemaking being kept up here by Team Sky Salvatore Puccio. But it looks as though we've got 12 riders here establishing this lead at the moment. And there's an attack gone straight off the front, and that is the leader of the Katusha team who's made a move, Ignatiev. And this is the start of the second category climb. Now that's a sign of a man who's feeling quite fit at the moment as he starts to go up. Being quickly joined by Jan Bakelants, and it looks like it might be David Tanner of Saxo Bank, the Australian member, who's here. Another counter move coming, but this is from the peloton, which is not that far behind now. At one stage they did build a lead, but it started to come down now, and all of those light jerseys on the front, the sky blue jersey, are the teammates of Tony Martin in red. And somebody, and it looks like the style of Ryder Hejjedal, has ripped off the front of this group. One quick look to see if there's a reaction. There isn't. Now this is a serious attack. Ryder Hejjedal launching an attack to try and join the front groups which are splintering on this climb. Hejjedal takes a look to see if the Movistar rider can come with him, and we quickly go up to the three leaders on the road. Still Ignatiev in red. Somebody else coming across the gap, Jan Bakelants, David Tanner. These are the three leaders. The remnants of the breakaway now sped on this climb, and there looks to be about half a dozen trying to rejoin them at the front. This breakaway got away today at around about 50 kilometres into the 182. First two climbs won by Dan Martin. It's not quite a done deal yet as winner of the King of the Mountains, but with these riders clear of the field now, none counting in the competition, it's unlikely he'll be beaten. Jan Bakelants, Mikhail Ignatiev coming across the gap there. Looks to me as though we've got a Lamprey rider, so it'd be Gregor Bolle trying to bring that small group across to the leaders. They were together at the bottom, they split up, and it's Bolle is coming back into the picture. Good turn of speed, and he's up to them. And just behind this group, we've still got that chase on with Ryder Hejjedal, the most dangerous man from Garmin, winner this year of the Giro d'Italia, first Canadian victory in that event. Bakelants keeping up good rhythm. And the rider who is being dropped here is Lestras. First time we've seen Pablo Lestras in the front of our cameras this week, and it looks as though Hejjedal is too good for him. Just take a look at the big Canadian's face here. Former mountain biker of note, but Hejjedal has become a really successful road racing cyclist. He's gambling here because he's in a very strong position. He's got to go at this stage of the race. Last chance to win the race. 1.5 minutes behind overnight. 10-second time bonus for the man that wins the stage. Steve Cummings here. This is the group which is reformed at the front. From the original breakaway of 12, 6 of them have got back together. Steve Cummings driving it. Beautiful view of the climb here as we snake around, not too far away from the Great Wall itself. The peloton is quite compact, indicating there that the full chase is not on from that group yet. There's got to be concern about the whereabouts of Ryder Hejjedal, who's caught now, and here he is between the leaders and the main field. This was definitely a plan by the Canadian to steal the race on the final day. Tony Martin is back in that field. He'll watch this move. He won't allow it to run too far. 1 kilometre to go to the summit, and he's coming up behind that front group. As the riders have come to note here in China, these hills which abound to the north of Beijing, they're steep, they're hard, but they're also excellent surfaced roads, which makes it that little bit easier, makes it a very high-speed climb on this road. It looks as though Ignatiev here now is beginning to crack because he's falling away from that lead group. This is Manuel Borro, also was original member of the group. And it's Steve Cummings who's doing the damage. Cummings here leading Jan Bakelants. When they get to the top of this climb, 48 kilometres to go. Still one very, very big climb to come. And the relentless progress of number 61, Ryder Hejjedal. He's gambled his whole week of racing on winning it on this last 40 or 50 kilometres of the day, on the final day. comes up alongside a former breakaway partner here in the group, Kenny de Haas. He slips away, tried to kick there, in fact he has kicked, and just about got onto the tail, for the moment at least, of Hejdahl. Little bit of trouble now for David Tanner. He's dangling off the back, but the summit is literally around the corner, 100 metres away. Steve Cummings will get 8 points for being to the top first in the King of the Mountains, but he's not really in that competition. This is a good result for Dan Martin back in the bunch. The riders that don't matter as far as he's concerned taking the points. Jan Bakelens gets 6, Tanner will get 4. All throwaway points as far as Dan Martin is concerned. Now we're heading to a short descent before we start the last climb of the day there. General regrouping at the back. Hejdahl has ripped his way up from the peloton. He's contacted the remnants of the breakaway. He's still setting the pace, and this is 100% all or nothing for him. Takes a look over his shoulder. Won't see too many riders chasing him just now because he is making progress. These are all riders here who were in the original breakaway. Martin Weinants is the rider in the orange jersey, just sat at the back. The other Katusha rider, Alexei Isachevich, in the red there. And UCI Wakenan, the Finnish rider, was on the back. Peloton over the same climb now, still mashing together. When they're this close together, good sign the pressure is not yet on at the front. Not a long descent the next way off this mountain before we start the slopes of the final first category climb of the day. They say it is extremely steep. The riders have never seen it. It's introduced into the race this year. They also say that the descent is very, very tortuous indeed, with overhanging tree branches and indeed going through the rocky outcrops. Peloton now tilting on its way down. The next object of the day is for rider Hejdahl to see if he can ride across to the gap of the leaders. These three men on a little bit of the false flat on the link road to the final mountain. Cummings is the rider in red, Commonwealth and World Team Pursuit champion and also a silver medalist in Athens at the Team Pursuit in the Olympic Games in 2004. Looks like there's about 23 seconds, if I read that board correctly, to the group which is containing number 61, Hejdahl there. And a little over a minute back to the main field, and there's nobody behind this group I can see just there. Jussi Väikkönen, former champion of Finland, driving through in the white jersey. Weinants. And then it is number 78 there, that's that is Alexei Isachevich of Russia. And there is confirmation, a minute 25 back to the peloton. 1.5 minutes is the deficit overnight of rider Hejdahl. Now he's not 125 ahead because he's chasing at the moment, but he's progress, work in progress for him, and if he can continue like this, he could be snatching this race, you know, right on the very last day. Cummings looks over some help here, and here comes Hejdahl in that group behind. Steve Cummings has seen them coming. There's no point in trying to hold them off. If they can regroup here, we're going to get something like 6-7 riders all together, maybe more. I think there's 3 in that chase at the moment. Jan Bakelens going through, been very, very positive in his racing all week, the rider from Belgium. On the Radio Shack team, the pink jersey chasing up behind is Gregor Bole from the Lamprey team. He's a rider from Slovenia, although he's on the Italian team. In fact, he's the only foreign rider other than the Italians on that team this week. Working very, very well to try and cross the gap. This is going to put 6 leaders up front. This will be Bole, possibly Ignatiev and Boro bridging the gap. This is not the group containing rider Hejdahl. He's still got ground to make up. Tony Martin's brought 4 members of his team to the front now, so since he's seen that time check, he's become quite concerned. His job now is to try and limit the escape. And the boys have joined up at the front here. Manuel Borro is the Italian on the Saxo Bank team, just to the right of our picture, dark colours. Bole at the back. It's quite a mixed nationality breakaway now with Steve Cummings of Great Britain. Then we've got the Russian rider coming through, Zatovic. Still working pretty well here back in the next chase group on the road. We've got a real chance here that the original 12 riders are going to come together. Only lost one. The odd man out will be rider Heyerdahl, who has crossed from the peloton to the leading group on his own. They're in the process of trying to regroup all of these riders back together, and if it does happen, it's going to happen just on the base of the last big climb of the day. Frédéric Verkelin setting the pace for Vacansoleil. And there is the group containing Heyerdahl, now coming up from behind. Looks to be 6 or 7 of them there as well. So it looks as though we're going to have a regrouping since the descent. Here he is. He's still doing all of the work. Look at this. The Canadian rider drives on. He has a lot of fans in Canada as well. After his brilliant Giro d'Italia, he is a man inspired. He said before this race began that he wanted to be competitive here. He wanted to finish his season on a high after that brilliant victory in the Giro d'Italia. And he's gambled everything on this last day effort over the last 50 kilometres of the stage. He's very close to being the race leader on the road. Almost closing the gap. 6 riders joining, 6 in front, so we've only lost 1 rider from the original 12. The 12 being made up by the arrival of Heyerdahl, who's gone straight past the 6 and straight into the driving seat. Verkelin looks up over his shoulder, sees who's come up. The 2 riders from Katusha are back now. The man that started the split in the first place and then lost control of it was Mikhail Ignatiev. He's now back in this lead group. All under the control of rider Heyerdahl. Nothing in the distance there. The gap must be around a minute and a half. Just picking out the main peloton down there with all of the team cars behind. Still quite a large field in pursuit. All of the riders at the head of the field are all members of the Amigo Pharma Quick-Step team of Tony Martin. This is the biggest threat to his lead since he got the lead on stage 2 with the finish down in Montaugo after a journey around the mountains there, which isn't too far away from here. But he always knew today was the test day. The riders have been talking about this unknown climb, which is now on the horizon, quite literally. Steve Cummings has gone to the back, having split the field up on the previous climb where he was first over the top. Just on the radio here now, this is rider Heyerdahl talking back to his team car, trying to get some assessment of the gap, I would suspect. Tony Martin, meanwhile, back in the peloton, is probably doing the same to find out exactly where rider Heyerdahl has gone to. Saxo Bank rider David Tanner has got himself back into second place here. Ignatiev, Steve Cummings has come from the back. He's now starting to work through again. Now it's pity we can't see what that board says because that's the time board. And we'll be telling rider Heyerdahl which way is he going, forward or backwards. In the distance I can see they've just dropped UCI WorldTour back there, so there's only 11 of them here now as the Finn has cried enough. This is the chase. And it looks to me as though Sky has decided to help out the Omega Pharma Quick-Step team, and that's because they're looking to defend the position of Edvald Boysenhagen. Boysenhagen has done well in the points racing today because he was second in the sprint 40 kilometres into the stage, so he got a couple of seconds time bonus and a few points for his green jersey. There he is, sat on the right. So he's trying to make that his target, while at the same time he's still trying to win this race. That 2 seconds bonus might mean something towards the end today. It looks to me as though Tony Martin is now shouting instructions to his team here, and he's telling them, I would suspect, to ride. He's running out of teammates, but nonetheless he's going to use them up because we're getting to the most crucial part of the race now, the last climb of the event. Back into the ticket collector's seat there goes Mikhail Ignatieff. Just in front of him is Bole, David Tanner, Steve Cummings, Jan Bekelants. The other Saxo Bank rider here is Mamel Burrow. And they're all fighting to hang on to the back wheel of the rider who is trying to win the Tour of Beijing on the very last hour and a half of the event. Gritting his teeth there, Frederik Verkelen, trying desperately to get onto the back wheel. Rider Hejerdal having nothing of it here. It's a case of do it all yourself if you're going to win the race, that's for sure. He's the one with the time to gain, and everybody else, of course, they're there to try and win the stage. And now they're starting to crack again here, because that is Ignatieff, who really did start all of the action on the previous climb and paying the price. We're on the climb now, the last climb of the day. Twists and turns its way up over the mountain. Wynant's also dropping on the sheer speed of this climb. Rabobank rider suffering. Well, he's done well, but he's got back. But he's now finding 3 other riders have detached. So they are in trouble. Verkelen has gone. Just one Saxo Bank rider left here now. And in fact, as I speak, it looks as though he too is going off the back. So this is all under the impetus, and desperate moves it is as well for rider Hejerdal. This is David Tanner, who's yo-yoed. He was 3rd over the top of the last climb, and he was yo-yoing then, but he's yo-yoing for good, I think, this time. Hejerdal, followed there by Satchevich, the little Russian man. Steve Cummings is still here, but it's all about the pressure being put on by rider Hejerdal. Jan Bekelants is still here. They are the 4 who are left again now, so the 12 reduced to 4 on this climb. Back in the bunch, it looks like Noscentini perhaps, who's making a big move here for AG2R Le Mondial. Interesting to see that Saxo Bank, they must have had word that the riders are in trouble up front, because they're starting to chase back here. They do have the best young rider on the squad, Rafa Machka, and they want to keep him there. There's the first capture, as Movistar's Enrique Sanz has gone back into the group. He was in the breakaway. Still 2 riders here to look after Tony Martin, who'll use them until they can't pedal anymore. Boysenhagen always marking there. Tony Martin. Meanwhile, this is another crack. This is Alexei Satchevich, who's gone as well. So that leaves only 3 riders up the road. And still the impetus all coming from rider Hejerdal. It's not the others want. The others simply can't help here. They'd like to, they just can't do it. This man is out on a mission. Once over the top of this climb, it's 29 kilometers to the finish, and the first few kilometers are down a very steep descent. To win this race, risks, I think, must be taken. There's the capture of Ignatieff. Peloton chewing them up and spitting them out one by one from that breakaway on this climb. While the peloton itself is getting a little bit small. I don't know if you saw the back of that race there. They were thinning out rapidly. It looks like Jan Bekelants here might be the next to go. He's struggling at the back. The speed of Hejerdal climbing this mountain here. There's the splits in the peloton. There's a big group right off the back now. 40 riders maybe in the front group. Twisting the way up this magnificent climb. This is probably the best way to see it from a helicopter. Bekelants hanging on in there for Team Radio Shack. Rider Hejerdal has not looked to anybody for any assistance. He likes to keep his own rhythm and climb at his own speed. He's certainly done the damage because the elastic is stretching, and I think it's about to snap. As Bekelants, there's the bottle. We'll see you tomorrow as the team car moves on. Get yourself home as best you can. He's made a big effort today, Jan Bekelants. He was 3rd over the first climb after just 12 kilometers of the race. He was second over the climb with 48 kilometers to go. He's been up front an awful long time. Had a very good week. But he's not going to see the finish in Pinggu before these two. It's all about time today. And can he pick up a minute and 30 seconds and win this race overall? Ryder Hejjedal, Igor Anton driving away from the front here. A born climber, this man. He quite literally dances on those pedals as he accelerated, but Tony Martin's after him. Martin's locked on to him. So too in fourth there, the white jersey of Machka, riding very, very well. That peloton is going to thin down even more at those sort of accelerations. And talking of accelerations, just look at the determination on this man's face as he picks it up again. Steve Cummings had gone past there, just coming up to the top of the climb. That was 100 meters to go. And it's going, Hejjedal's going to get the 12 points in the King of the Mountains. It doesn't really mean a lot to him. He's not been a scorer so far. Another 8 for Cummings, who might find himself in the top 4 riders in that final classification. But once again, a great result for Dan Martin. He hasn't had to be in the points to win the title. He's back in that leading peloton just at the moment. And he is now the King of the Mountains of this year's Tour of Beijing. That's the first title decided. Who's going to win that final red jersey, though? Right on the front, it looks to me as though we got the green jersey of Boysenhagen now. No, it's not. It's his teammate. Boysenhagen's still there, tucked in behind the red jersey. 100 meters to go for the advanced peloton. A couple of riders yo-yoing. They've got a very good chance of rejoining now as the descent starts. Thomas Dekker there, just tagged onto the back. He's had a good day out today. Now Steve Cummings coming back into his own here as we go down the hill. Cummings is a born speed merchant in cycling, and now the hills are out of the way, he's got a chance. Sharp bends the order of the day over this early part of the descent. The riders will have to take risks if they want to gain time, but they're going to have to be very careful. A little bit of a false flat before we start the descent here. Hejjedal goes through, given right away by Steve Cummings. They're working together now. We can expect speeds on the way down, about 80 kilometers an hour. It won't be quite so quick because it is quite a technical drop, this one. Just about 30 riders in what is still quite a large front peloton. All of the names who've dominated over this opening 4 days of the Tour, all in that mix down there. I don't think anybody has missed the move who features in the top 15 places of the race. Now these are the corners now. Wise descenders descend for themselves. They never follow the other rider down because you can't follow a line. You've got to make your own. Knees out, body balancing the bike, push the bike into the corners, straighten up, accelerate. Well, these short straights, there's no chance to help each other. It's a matter of descending as best you can before they get a decent road again. Hejjedal knows he's closer to taking the race lead. He also knows there's a big reaction now behind. No more hills left in this year's Tour of Beijing. Just this long descent and then the flat run in and down into Pinggu. And as you can see, 37 seconds. They fought their way back into this picture. It's not good news for Ryder Hejjedal. It's excellent news for the red jersey, of course. More steep ascents. They'll make a sharp left here, followed by a very sharp right. Continuing to slip down this mountain. Everybody just concentrating, hoping that they'll come out the bottom, still in this leading group of chasers. Hejjedal, every time he senses the pace is slowing, gets out of the saddle, even when he's going downhill, to keep the pace high. Long descent as the groups are slowly fighting to rejoin each other on this way down. It didn't happen the other day because the race went down the mountain so quickly the chasers could not rejoin. Red jersey still evident down there. Also riding near the front because that's the safest place to be. Only win of Hejerdal this year has been the Giro d'Italia on the overall classification. Didn't even win a stage on the way to a dramatic victory. Didn't quite get a glimpse of that. It was whited out as far as I was concerned, but I think it was pretty close. It looked to be, it could have been 25 seconds that. Hejerdal will have seen it, so he'll start to think to himself, this isn't going to work. There's still quite a way to go. Main field stretching out, being stretched out all of the time by one rider from Omega Pharma Quickstep. Face of rider Hejerdal, it's been a grimace ever since he put in the move that took him up to the leaders. He caught the 12 of them, he's imploded them, blown them away on the mountainside. Just the one who's resisted is Steve Cummings, and now he needs him. He needs the speed in Cummings to help get him down to the finish. 31 years of age now, rider Hejerdal. Sylvain Georges on the left of our picture, and this is Tanel Kangat, the champion of Estonia, rides for Astana. Now the way that Kangat is riding here, you can bet your life then his sprinter teammate, who's lying second overall in the race, Francesco Gavazzi, is in this line. Otherwise he would not be riding like this, so he's trying to preserve his second place overall. And although at the moment you have the Tony Martin, the race leader, quite safe because he has quite a lead of 40 seconds over the nearest contender, and there is Francesco Gavazzi in the light blue. His position is in danger even now with a 25-second lead only for Hejerdal, so they've got to chase it down. And I think we've got 4 riders here from the Basque team, Euskadel Euskadi, who are pushing for the overall team victory. I mean, 4 riders up here got a chance. Team lead at the moment, held for the last 2 days by Liquigas Cannondale. Cummings demonstrating the speed that carried him to medals on the velodrome. He's now a converted road racing rider. Little message here, and going all of the time to Dario Cataldo from Tony Martin to keep in as long as he can and help drive this pace. He's the only one left now, the only teammate who has survived in this chase back. The others have been here, done the job and dropped off. Sylvain Georges driving, useful man here, riding for his team leader Rinaldo Noncentini. There's the board, but I'm afraid it's a secret. We can't read it from here. It can only be now half a minute at the most. These two continue. Just tucked under the trees, hopefully not being seen by the main chase at the moment. Always bad news when the camera turns away from the leaders to give us a relationship view, but it's still quite a gap. There they are. I would say that's still 30 seconds. As they come around the brow there, they may not have seen those 2 riders up front, because that would have been the attraction if they had. No sign of anybody coming from behind now. All the orange jerseys of Euskadel Euskadi, they've really done well to plant those into this leading group. They've also had a good race. Not from the quarter we expected though, from the Olympic champion Samuel Sanchez. Instead it was Igor Anton who's been the big attacking rider on that team. Liquigas Cannondale, those lime green colours peeping in and out. They've got 3 riders here, which means if they go to the finish as this group, then they will win the team award, because there's no time gain. The time is calculated on the overall by taking the times of the first 3 riders on each team, and if you've got 3 riders in that group, then you're going to get the best time. Boysenhog has decided his tactics for the day, and that's to sit on the back wheel of the overall leader, Tony Martin. Gavazzi's just behind as well. He's second overall. Kopecky is in this little group of 3 here. He's in the prizes up in the first 5. Samuel Sanchez racing through picture, and everybody else just watching and waiting to see how it all pans out. Sanchez, the first of the riders in the orange jerseys there. There's Gavazzi, pulled off the win of his life the other day when he caught Boysenhagen in the last 5 meters of the race, coming up in the shadow of the battling Great Wall. It almost seemed impossible to lose the stage as far as Boysenhagen was concerned, and he did in the last 5 meters, and not only did he lose the stage, he finished third. And the man in our picture now, Dan Martin, got second on the line. So Martin will carry that polka dot jersey back home at the end of this race. It's already his. Nobody can beat him. There's the results of the mountains we've seen. Hejjedal getting those 12 points ahead of Steve Cummings, who took 8. Looking at the number of 171, that is Johnny Hugeland of the Vacances Soleil. So he's also riding well at the end of this race. He's in this main chase group. No sign yet of the end of this long flat straight before we get down into Bingu. Now, are they going to try and finish this off? As far as Tony Martin is concerned, the race is now once again under control, but just look over the shoulder here. They have got them in their sights, and there's still plenty of time to wipe them out. They know they're coming, I think. Hejjedal just puts his head down and tries to squeeze a little bit more out of those big long legs of his. Peloton pushed over to the right of the road there as they make a left-hand sweep. And now it looks as though we've got Radio Shack working hard to close it down, because their sprinter, Daniela Bernardi, has made this decisive move and is in this group. And if he can get to the line as a group, he might well take the sprint. Cummings looking now to me as though he's almost enjoying this just at the moment. He certainly hasn't put the white flag out, has he? Look at the grimace on the face of rider Hejjedal. Once this team pursuiter gets on all 4 cylinders, he can push speeds up to 50 kilometers an hour. Hard work being done to try and bring Bernardi back into play. He's 5th or 6th down the line here, with the slight overnight shadow on his beard there. Still Tanel Kangert, the Estonian champion, in that pure white jersey. A couple of Rabobank boys hovering at the back. Tom Slachter particularly, 135 of you saw him. He's a youngster of the future. And the shadows elongated by the sun now, getting low in the sky to the left as we look at the camera, as the race time approaches just after 4 o'clock in the afternoon here in China. It'll be dark in 2 hours. Well, it's no time to take a look over your shoulder here, because there's still a lot of kilometers as far as they are concerned to keep this pressure on. It's unlikely they'll survive now. All of the work being done. There's Sylvain Georges in those yellow sunglasses, and this is Dario Cataldo, the only Amiga rider left to help out Tony Martin, who is just watching and waiting. Things are going his way at the moment. In the light blue jersey, Gavazzi, if it comes down to a sprint, why not a small time bonus again? Because he showed us how well he can sprint when he won the stage up to the battling Great Wall. Nothing being spared now as we come onto the outskirts of town, heading down towards the finish. They are dangling in front of this group, and thanks to the fine turn of pure speed from Steve Cummings, there is a 50-50 chance they will stay away. And you know, when you've seen these riders, in the case of Cummings, he's been in the lead for most of the race today. Only Hejjedal reached his group of 12, got rid of the other 11, couldn't get rid of Cummings, and Cummings now paying him back by giving him a fine turn of speed that might see them come home in the top 2 places. There's also a 10-second win bonus, but I don't think it's going to matter now, frankly, because 1.5 minutes behind overnight for Hejjedal, at 3 minutes and 15 seconds behind overnight for Cummings. 10 seconds isn't going to make a lot of difference right now, but they're approaching the finishing line here. We're heading into the last kilometre now, and they're still working, because now they've switched thoughts. They're working for the stage win, and at least a little bit of a leg up the overall classification, particularly for Hejerdal. But it won't be a winning move now. In fact, we're 3 kilometres long straight now, approaching the finish in Pinggu. Can they hang on for 3 kilometres here? I really thought earlier they were going to surrender and go back, but they decided not to. And they're matching that chase wheel for wheel. That's still a big gap, and the race referees playing it very fair here. They've taken out all of the vehicles in between, so there can be no leapfrogging the vehicles to the leaders. Total empty vacuum. Pacemaking being made by Salvatore Pucchio of the Sky team. He's got a different menu, because he's trying to pave the way here for Boysenhagen to win the sprint, and with it he would win the green points jersey with the what would be at the moment a 3rd place finish. First place would be a lot better, of course. And Johnny Hugelen there getting a pat on the back from a teammate, asking him how he's feeling, I should imagine. 2 kilometres moving smoothly to the left. This is pretty much a straight run down to the finish. There's one little kink before the end, and they're still clear of the field. Not a good place for Cummings to look over his shoulder. I don't think he will have seen much through those trees, but nonetheless they're not slowing down. Well, hats off here to Dario Cataldo. Done a great turn of work here to keep Tony Martin in that race red jersey, and it should be a formality now. He's inside 2 kilometres to go. If he were to crash now under the international regulations, he would get the time of the riders he's with. That would mean he'd win the race. So he can more or less ride to the finish now, knowing he's won this tour for the 2nd year. Swinging round towards the finish. Another little glance over his shoulder. They know they're there. Tremendous tandem. Canada and United Kingdom going to the finish. A man from Vancouver at the back. Scene of the Winter Olympics a couple of years ago. Former mountain biker, now a great road racing cyclist with a win in the Giro d'Italia. 1 kilometre to the finish. This is the left turn I mentioned, and now it's dead straight to the line. As far as you can see is where we're going now, and I can't see them creeping up on these two like they did on Boysenhagen at the battling wall. Good fine turn of speed. Every second counts for Ryder Hejerdal. It would mean an improvement on his overall classification, if not a podium finish now. And so I think for that reason alone, Steve Cummings is going to sit there and wait. He's got the gap. He can gamble now. They're not going to close in on him this quick. This is a deadpan flat finish now. He's letting Hejerdal, thinking of seconds, racing for them. And now all he's got to do is try and move out of his slipstream and steal the first prize. Steve Cummings, by the way, won the 13th stage of the Vuelta a España, which was a great win for him last month. And it's October the 13th today, so maybe 13 is his lucky number, because there he goes. Breaks out of the shadow. When Hejerdal looked over his shoulder to see the gap, that means there's not a lot left in those legs. I think he even slipped his gear there. So Steve Cummings gets the victory for BMC. And over the line in 2nd place, a small time bonus as well, 6 seconds indeed for Ryder Hejerdal. The clock is now counting. This is his real time gain. Won't be enough to win the race. That will go to Tony Martin. Boysenhagen finishes it off with a fine 3rd place. That means he will win the green jersey on points as the lead group comes in there. Steve Cummings gets the win. He had a bad start to the year when he broke his pelvis in the Tour of the Algarve in Portugal. Recovered from that, he's had a great end to the year. It was all about time as far as Hejerdal was concerned, and just a stage win as far as Steve Cummings was concerned. Well earned, well deserved, because he was in the lead today for about 130 kilometres. That's a hard way to get your stage victory. So he gets the victory, and the congratulations of the team here. And Tony Martin stretches out his back and says, I did it, on a course that he said didn't suit him. it's given him the overall victory. This is the stage result first. Steve Cummings winning over Ryder Hagedal by just 2 seconds, then 17 back to Bosenhagen, who beat Daniela Bonatti in the sprint. Tim Wellens to Gavexia in 6th place. Top 10 completed by Simon Clark, the King of the Mountains in the Vuelta de España this year for Australia. All timed at 17 seconds. And there's the first prize. He's also been voted the most aggressive rider of the day, Steve Cummings, so good for him. So let's go and see what he's got to say now.
Here with a great win.
Yeah, it's a good way to finish. So we're gonna have a nice win to relax.
What did you make of the stage? It was pretty tough, and but you managed to do the job.
Yeah, it was hard start, fast start. The teams were trying to control so Dan Martin could take the mountains points, so that made it fast for the first hour or so, and then eventually a big group win because it was a hard start, so managed to get in there, and then the group was good, everyone was strong, we were all rolling through, and I knew we were going fast, so it'd be a hard day, and there were probably after the climbs and stuff there weren't probably many who could chase, so it was good for me.
Did you get a shock when Ryder suddenly appeared?
Not really, the gap was 40 seconds, I thought someone would come across, but Ryder was very strong, yeah.
Were you confident that you could shake him off in the finishing straight?
Yeah, you know, he was riding for the GC and I was going for the stage, so it was a perfect combination. We both had things to gain, so yeah, both worked really well. He really went fast on the climb and the descent, and then I did the last bit really a bit, shared it. But
it's been a good year for you, stage of the Vuelta, and now to finish off here.
I think the second part's been good, the first part wasn't particularly good, but cycling.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done there. The man he comes from near Liverpool actually, and very popular with his team, but confirmation of the winner of the second Tour of Beijing, Tony Martin, the only winner of this race. He wins by 40 seconds over Gavazzi, and no change in the end except Bosenhagen comes up to 3rd, Daniel Martin down to 4th. Let's hear from Tony Martin.
Tony, 2 editions of the Tour of Beijing, but only 1 winner, and that's you. Back to back, what a fantastic effort, you must be thrilled.
Yeah, it's a fantastic feeling. Today I'm really so proud again of the team. Without them I couldn't make it to the finish today. So it was a great work from the whole team, and the successes for the whole team.
Your stage victory when you soloed to the finish line is going to be remembered for a long time by a lot of people. Is it a special win for you because of the way you did it here? No time trial, but you made your own and created your own win.
Yeah, it's a really special win for me because I think there was a little bit pressure on me. I won last year, and for sure all the people expected me to win this year again. But the chance was really small without a time trial, but doesn't matter. I could make it again, and yeah, I'm really proud also of myself, and it was a really nice time, or it is a really nice time.
Is this the end of the season now? Do you get a holiday? Do you get to put the legs up and have a rest?
Yeah, we'll do the Corona Nación one more day next weekend, and then I have holiday. Yeah.
Well done, Tony Martin, and this sprint here sealed the green points jersey for Edvald Bosenhagen, so a good result for him. He got the win there over Elia Viviani, who won the first stage by 6 points there, and Gavazzi getting 3rd. Daniel Martin finishing 4th in this competition, and now he can play the violin on his way back home to Norway, where I should imagine it's getting quite chilly at the moment as he waves to the crowd here. He was very happy this morning because they put Norwegian cheese on the breakfast table. I think that must have been what sealed his victory in the points today. In the King of the Mountains, Daniel Martin, that the only leader from day 2 when it was introduced into the race. There was no mountains on day 1, gets a clear victory over a fighting Pim Ligtart, who even today finished 2nd to Martin on the first 2 climbs. So it was a good competition between the 2 of them. But Dan Martin, the Irishman, who races on the Garmin Sharp team from the United States, takes home the King of the Mountains jersey tonight. And in the Best Young Rider competition for riders born after the 1st of January 1988, Rafael Machka has kept his lead throughout in this, but he's had a good fight on his hands. He could not afford to make a mistake. There were 4 riders in this competition, and these are the riders of the future in the world of cycling. And the overall final standings in the World Tour rankings, that has been won by Joaquim Rodriguez. After his brilliant riding this year, he wasn't here, neither is Bradley Wiggins, the winner of the Tour de France. They've already given up for the season, but they didn't have to come here. They had enough points in the bank to become the top 2 riders in the World Tour. The World Tour is now over for another year, so are we. We'll say goodbye from China.